Number 4, Lady of the Needles. Thank you so much for your ministry. Well, thank you for thanking me. My question is, does the Bible say anything about God-given rights, at least the way many Americans use the phrase? By the way, I love seeing your cats. Me too. And they don't really like come around too often for the live streams nowadays. You know, Moxie used to just sit on this chair over here all the time. And this is how cats are. She just like goes through a phase where she just doesn't want to sit there. And I don't like try to make her. So we'll see if she shows up. But yeah, your question is, does the Bible say anything about God-given rights, at least the way many Americans use the phrase? Really interesting question. Like we would say, what would be an American example of God-given rights? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So human equality, that could be construed as a right, human equality. We're endowed with like life, to seek life, liberty. I mean, see, how's it worded? I usually I can just quote it off the top of my head, but I'm not thinking. Let me just get up the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. So these are God-given rights according to the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence as well. That to secure these rights, these rights are, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So life means you can't just come and kill me. Is that a God? Does God say that? Actually, that is very biblical, that particular one, because in the scripture it says like, you shall not murder. Okay, well, that's something where God limits that. You're not allowed to do that. That's something he requires of all people, not just of the Jewish people under the law, but of all people. It's in even the Noahic instructions that are given to Noah and to all of mankind through Noah. And so it's said there that if anybody kills a human, then another human is going to kill them. This isn't like a karma thing. This is actually saying that governments actually should enforce the death penalty for murderers. I believe that. I have a video on that for those who are interested. I'll link it down below if you're interested in my video on the death penalty. You probably don't agree with me on this. I think it's strongly biblical. I hope you'll at least consider walking through the scriptures that talk about it, for those who think that they're super just like you've never really considered it this way. So yeah, life is an inalienable right. This doesn't mean that the death penalty can't ever be used, ever be used, right? Because there are times where that right can be taken away, but it's inalienable, as in it's an automatic right. You automatically have this. Only extreme circumstances could change something like that. Liberty's the next one. Liberty. Well, this is where I'm not always sure what people mean by liberty, and I don't know enough of the founding fathers, enough of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence to be able to summarize how they define the phrase liberty, because they would probably parse this out as very specific rights and then to try to tie that to scripture. The Bible seems to grant the idea that mankind as a whole does have sort of property rights, right? Adam and Eve, like they're to tend the garden, that God ultimately owns all things, but that we are given this stewardship, and that is a valuable thing. The ownership of the land for Israel is especially important, and there's a general respect for things like borders and not only national borders but individual borders, like here's your neighbor's property, that kind of thing. So property rights, this, you could make a case that seems like an inalienable or at least a God-given type right. So yeah, now how you get that individual property, that's not laid out to my knowledge in scripture, so I don't know how we would make that like a broad sweeping rule. But if somebody comes in and just takes your property, that would seem to be an automatic, that's theft, right? That's the point. The fact that theft is wrong and murder is wrong kind of universally sort of implies the God-given nature of personal property and personal belongings, doesn't it? Because these are moral policies for all things. And with the next one, and for liberty, so you've got other elements of liberty, like taxation and how much is taxation okay and stuff like that. And I don't know that the Bible comments on that, so I have nothing to add there. And then the pursuit of happiness, that one is super. I don't know for sure what is even meant by that, so I'm not going to comment on it. There's certain God-given rights, yes. Can they be extended to things like, say, guns, the Second Amendment? Now, whether or not let me just be careful here for those who will hear me on this. Whether or not the Second Amendment is a good idea and is right, can I say that I have a God-given right for gun ownership? Okay, that I don't know how to make a case for that. Do I have a God-given right for self-defense? There seems to be a much stronger case for that, but specifically in the form of gun ownership. Now, you could then argue, oh, well, gun ownership is necessary because you can't properly defend yourself when they have guns and you don't. Okay, you can make those other arguments and cases. I'm a little bit flexible on this particular one, so I'm not that dogmatic about it. But I think self-defense seems clear, and then the gun ownership thing, I'm willing to kind of hear both sides of this discussion a little bit more. But I can't come at you with like, here's the clear biblical teaching on this. So self-defense, yes, clearly there seems to be a very strong self-defense rule in Scripture, but is that clearly therefore guns, or what kinds of guns, like a 40 caliber Glock versus like I don't know, a rocket launcher? Like it's not even really a gun, is it? But what kinds of guns, and how do you parse that out? This is where I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm your source for this, because I'm not real confident about it.